You do this really well. You're a great interviewer, but this is something specifically I think you do really well, is you make the guests so comfortable when you ask the hard questions. Mm-hmm. And the question was, what does it feel like when your movie bombs? But the way you set it up was he wasn't defensive. It was like genuine curiosity. It wasn't like, I got you.
Well, I also can come from the place of I've had a ton of stinkers. Dude, I've had some hot bombs at the box office.
I didn't want to bring it up.
Oh, that's good.
Or maybe that's what I did.
Oh, that's good.
That was good.
Oh, yeah. You just daxed
How are we going to bring that up?
Let's start with your bombs. Yeah, it's a very, very unique experience to travel around the country, go on talk shows, tell everybody about this movie, like basically tell the world, hey, I've put my heart into this thing. Yeah. And then Friday, if that was a complete waste of time. And then it's very public. Like the people I've interviewed that I've related most to is people who've run for public office and then they lose the election and then they gotta walk around their city and everyone's like, oh, hey, wish it gone your way. You feel like you're wearing a sign that says I lost everywhere you go. Yeah. And by the way, no one gives a fuck. No one cares.
They move on.
If Americans see, I have a very specific example of how delusional I was. I went on Conan O'Brien and I had to go on Monday after the movie always opened. Pro tip, don't ever schedule that because you don't know how it's going to go. I'm the whole weekend. I'm like, oh my God, I'm never going to work again. And then I'm like, and I got to go on Monday and act like this. Everything's
great. Which film was this one?
For Chips, which I had written and directed. It was years of my life. And so I went on to Conan and I had a shirt printed up that said #1 comedy in America. Oh boy. Which it was because there was no other comedies out. Yeah. And so this was going to be my whole bit. And I'm like leading Conan into saying like, so #1 movie, comedy in America. But it wasn't #1, was it? And I'm like, no, there was 4 or 5 others before, but I'm involved in this bit and I'm like feeling the reaction of the audience and they're not getting it. And all of a sudden I realize like, oh, they don't know it bombed. They just saw posters and commercials.
Yeah. And so now you just look like you're bragging.
Well, yes. Like, they think I'm seriously celebrating this accomplishment. So I had to turn at one point and I go, gang, the movie didn't do so hot. Okay. Didn't perform. And I had to let the audience in on what bit I was doing.
Did you feel them stop hating you at that moment?
Well, then they started it wasn't even that they ever hated me. They were just confused because they, of course, didn't know it bombed. Yeah. And once I told them it bombed, then they loved it. Like, why am I wearing this shirt? Acting like it was a big hit. But I left that going like, oh, yeah. No one's thinking about you. They're not thinking about your movie. They're not reading the trades. They don't know when you ate shit. Yeah. And I was, it was just.
I have to look up very often if a movie did well because I'll be curious and I have no clue. It'd be movies that were popular. I'm like, did that actually make money? Do you ever do that?
Well, and also there are movies that we are all certain were huge hits and they absolutely weren't. Like Shawshank Redemption. Dude, we all have seen Shawshank Redemption. That movie made $8 million.
Idiocracy.
Idiocracy. This is hundreds of thousands. This is not even millions.
What is that effect? It's called where you
Dunning-Kruger.
Wait, is that what it is?
No, that's where dumb people talk the most.
Me? Did he just get me?
Just say you talk too much and you're dumb?
No,
He's fired.
No.
Damn it.
That was fantastic.
I don't know who he's insulting.
Why'd you ask him that question? That's on
really
you.
Good.
You teed him.
He deserves all the money.
I want to know about this effect, though. What was the effect?
Streisand?
Talk more.
It's not Streisand
effect. The Mandela effect.
Mandela effect. Point is, we all remember Idiocracy, and we know about it now to be this incredible film, right? And there's predicting the future, and every time anything happens in an election, they're like, Idiocracy, look, they pointed out. And then at the time, you were actually part of this.
Yeah.
Not to harp on movies that didn't do well.
Oh, I'm happy to.
But this Mike Judge, brilliant film that you're a part of, it didn't do well, but I think we remember it as this sensational success. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in fact, it only came out in, I want to say, like 600 theaters. And that was because I think contractually, Mike Judge, he was guaranteed they had to release it in some amount of theaters. But even when they released it, if you called like Fandango back then, sometimes it was listed as Untitled Mike Judge Project, which no one's ever tried to buy a ticket to Untitled Mike Judge. Yeah, it wasn't even labeled correctly.
Mike Judge is Beavis and Butthead.
And even probably similar trajectory, Office Space.
Yes.
Which that movie, again, we all have seen multiple times, and it made $10 million.
Shawshank bombed?
Yeah, $8
one of the
million.
greatest movies in history.
That's the one that throws me off. The other ones I remember hearing about from word of mouth and being like, oh, that movie's good.
Yeah.
But Shawshank, I was like 8 when it came out, and I couldn't believe that wasn't a hit. Swingers I knew also because
I'm older than you guys, though, so I'm going to hit the wall on some of these.
No, Swingers.
Sharky's Machine, right? You guys remember Sharky? Burt Reynolds,
Apparently
Sharky's.
Fight Club bombed at the box office.
No.
Wow, that blows my mind.
This is from IndieWire.com.
Yeah, I see, I used to be an encyclopedia about this because I am so obsessed with money. It wasn't a bomb, but considering it was Pitt and Edward Norton and Fincher, I don't think it hit 100 million. So I think it, like, what they thought it was going to do. What did it make?
It opened at 11 million, tapping out at 37 million at the U.S. box office.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Wow.
Fox spent 65 million on the film.
Wow.
Sounds like a bomb.
It happens.
Do you think movies are done? In the theater.
I had
a
thought
movie coming out.
Oh, yeah, by the way, movie out now. The Thicket. It's out this past weekend.
no, I'm quite bullish on. I would have thought that until I saw Maverick, and then something interesting happened with Chips. So you all saw Maverick, Top Gun 2. Yeah. I saw it 3 times at IMAX, and I was like, oh, that's right. We love this. We love having fun. We love action. The stuff that maybe shouldn't works so great. Like, she leaves the door open. It's open. You're like, get in there, Maverick.
Yeah.
That movie reminded us so much of how
she
fun.
Was naughty when she did that, didn't
Yeah.
That girl wanted.
Leave this door open. Yeah. That movie was so fun, and I think reminded everyone of how fun it is to go to a movie that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That weirdly, Chips, like a month or 2 after that, my best friend was one of the producers on it. He called me, he's like, you got to go on Netflix. Chips somehow is in the top 10 of movies streaming right now. I'm like, that's so weird. Why is that happening? And then it just slowly climbed for like a month, all the way up to 2.
Wow.
He just kept calling me every day like, you're not going to believe it. We're at 3. Now, mind you, this is 5 years after the movie came out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And my only explanation is like, you saw Maverick, you're like, that's right. I like to fucking party. I want some action. I want comedy. And then all of a sudden, that's what that movie was. And it was sitting right there. So it had a little second life, and I think kind of driven by Maverick. So
maybe your success on the pod. I imagine people are going back and seeing all the things you're in as they get more invested in your life.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know. I don't know if that has an impact. Like, I don't know if you're listening
you
to
wrote that movie, directed that movie, right? Like, that's if there's a Dax movie I want to watch that Dax drove, that's the one.
Well, I do think if you do listen to the podcast and you watch that movie, you'd go, oh, it's all in there. Same, I made another movie called Hit and Run with my wife. Car chase movie. This isn't going to work out. Are you left-handed or right?
I'm righty. Are you lefty?
I'm left. Yeah. See, if we were eating
Do you
dinner.
want to switch?
No, but just this is going to be a thing.
Okay, whatever. We'll
also, what a boat you have. What size is that?
Keep talking.
Is that a 13?
He's really good.
Is that a 13?
I'm so buttered up. I know he's going to destroy me.
Oh, yeah. Drop the hammer.
What was it like
How
when
many
your mom
inches
didn't
is your
love you?
penis?
Okay, you win. All right, go.
I can't remember what I was saying. Oh, just yes.
You did a hit and run on your wife or something.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. And both Chips and Hit and Run have a lot of like emotional chat in them. There's a lot of like, there's addiction, there's like vulnerability, all this shit that I think people that listen to the podcast like is in these action comedies. So I think it is fun if you started maybe on the podcast and did find your way to those movies. But I don't know. Because it's a different genre and medium, I don't know if it transfers. You could answer that as good as anyone.
I think IP works still. Chips is IP.
Yeah.
Maverick is IP.
But Chips was not the IP we thought it was. That's the big mistake
Meaning there's still some nostalgia baked in. There's a curiosity.
We thought so.
And no.
Well, if I learned a single lesson from that movie, it was while we're recruiting, because before you ever release the movie, you have all these test screenings, and they just hand out flyers at malls, like, come see this movie. Here's the title. You don't know anything about it. And people show up and they watch it. And you have a rate, you know how many flyers you handed out versus how many said yes. And so for Hit and Run, the number was, we had a much higher conversion rate. Chips, we have in a very low conversion rate. And then when they would ask people, people were like, it's a movie about, it's about potato chips. Like it was very literal to them. It's like, I'm not going to see a movie about chips.
Your test market had no clue what the.
We had found out, like, 90+% of the people had no idea about the TV show Chips. At that point, we should have just changed the movie title to like California Highway Patrol. You would at least known it was a cop movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that IP in our case
Didn't work in
probably
your favor.
wasn't as strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that can work now, especially with if you're doing like the major box office thing. I think people go out for Batman, they'll go out for Superman, maybe they'll go out for like Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
But the new movie that you don't really know anything about, but it could be an amazing story.
Yeah.
I think that those will probably be more successful streaming, where like the barrier to entry
Exactly.
is high.
Buried entry is a term I was going to use. That's probably why Chips takes off on Netflix. Somebody just texts their friend, hey, Chips is funny. It's right there.
Yeah.
I don't got to go. I don't got to buy a ticket on
Get
Fandango.
a babysitter, put on
Here.
clothes.
Or even if you're in the motorsports world, which my Instagram is mostly cars and motorcycles is my algorithm.
What else?
You're in there. Theo Vaughn's in there. I've discovered all these people through just that algorithm, right? Like I fully discovered you on Instagram, seeing
out.
clips of yours.
Zuckerberg, bro.
Shout out
boy,
Instagram.
you know what I mean? Now it's just like different recaps on World War II that I never considered.
Is that what your feed is?
This is my Twitter feed. It's just like,
okay.
I didn't see it this way.
That's a new take.
Thanks, Tucker Carlson.
That's a scary take. So there are lines from those movies, Chips, right?
Yeah.
Like I fail everything in the police academy, but I'm great on a motorcycle. And she says, well, you can ride a motorcycle. And I say, yes, ma'am, like a motherfucker. And if you're into motorcycles, that became a thing. So yeah, maybe someone saw that clip and then they went and checked out the movie. I guess it can happen a lot of ways, but I agree. The like $60 million drama that you would have normally gone to see, we have it. The TV shows are so fucking good.
That's the thing.
The competition, yeah.
And look what it took you to get back into the movie theater, Maverick, where you have
It's got to be
Literally.
top cruise in a jet.
And the remake, or not the remake, but the, what's it called?
Sequel.
The sequel to one of the most fun movies ever.
Although, have any of you gone back to watch the original post Maverick?
Yeah.
Okay, because my 11-year-old, I took her. We saw it twice together.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, shit, now we got to go back to the original. And we were watching the original. I was like, it's very good. It's not as good as I remember. Maverick is much better.
Oh, really?
Interesting.